Thank you so much, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Jill Scarson. I am the Partner Success Leader for the Palace Project. I'm joined by my colleague Tara Carpenter, our Implementation Manager, as well as Rachel Perry Taylor with SEFLIN. And we're so glad that you're here to join us to talk about Palace and how you can promote Palace at your library. We do have a presentation today, but if you have any questions, we're pretty informal. You're more than welcome to put them in the chat or unmute and ask. Tara will be watching the chat for us as I present. But we'll also have plenty of time at the end of this presentation for questions about how to promote Palace or about Palace in general or how to use Palace for your library. So with that said, I'm going to share my screen. And are you able to see that okay?
I see it.
Perfect. So as I mentioned, today we'll just talk a little bit about Palace. We'll start with an introduction and some common questions. We'll move on to some key points about Palace and what makes the app a little bit different from some of your other library e-reader apps. We'll talk about how libraries are promoting Palace, as well as some library resources available to you. And as I mentioned, there is plenty of time for some questions at the end. Before we get too deep into it, we thought it might be interesting to kind of point out some common questions that we get from libraries or that library patrons will ask libraries and that they've articulated to us. The important questions, I think, were to start is, why should I use the Palace app? How do I get started? How do I log in? Can I use both Libby and Palace? What if I already have titles checked out in Libby? Will I be notified when holds are available, when checkouts are due? Can I stream audio and video? Is Palace available for Kindles and many more? And I know we've done a few of these webinars at this point. If you haven't been able to join us, that's okay. I won't go through all of these questions right now, but some of the highlight ones, we're an aggregator app, so we do work with Overdrive. Patrons can still use Libby. It's not a matter of using one app or the other. They can use both. We do authenticate and are connected to Libby, so Palace holds and our loans and holds of Overdrive titles will show up both in Libby and in Palace. If they already have items that are checked out in Libby, they will show up on their Palace bookshelf on their MyBook screen. We do have push notifications for holds and loans, so those are available as well. We are not a streaming device right now, so we can't do audio video streaming, but that's something that might be available down the line. And lastly, we are a mobile app right now and not available in the Kindle App Store. Patrons can be associated with multiple libraries in the Palace app, so they just have to have their library barcode and PIN available to log into that library instance in Palace. So talking about promoting Palace, talking about those key points, I think I mentioned that first big one. We are an aggregator app, which means we can put multiple content sources in one simple streamlined app. So library patrons can access more of your content in one place. We do offer some unique content and innovative partnerships through our partnerships with publishers and distributors. One of those big ones being Amazon Publishing and Audible. Right now, we're the only place where libraries can source that content. The app is designed for discovery. We work and focus on available titles and relevant titles to increase discovery. And last and most importantly, I think in a lot of ways, we are deliberately streamlined and focus on user-centered design to make the app accessible to people of all ages and abilities. Expanding upon that, as I mentioned, we are an aggregator app. We work with most major vendors ranging from Overdrive, Baker and Taylor, Cloud Library, Blackstone Unlimited. If you're a Blackstone customer, we can support that content. We can support content from the Palace Bookshelf, which is our marketplace, as well as some of the other Lyricist owned or Lyricist supported content venues, including Biblioboard, the Indie Author Project. Our Palace Bookshelf content is already available for you in the app. That is our corpus of classics, public domain, and open access materials. Those are available out of the box to you as Palace libraries. Going into Discovery, the default setting in the Palace app is to showcase titles that are available now. This means that on the catalog screen, your patrons will see titles that are available to them to borrow today. They won't be pointed to a title that might be a bestseller with a 6 month hold queue. And the idea there is to highlight your whole collection over that hold queue, putting books in hands, making sure that patrons are able to see the full breadth of the collection development work that you've done. You're displaying your backlist titles alongside those more recent titles that are available now. And essentially, there are so many books coming out every week that no one has time to read everything. Maybe somebody has a TBR that spans the last 5 years, and those bestsellers from 6 months, 12 months, 18 months ago are still valuable content that somebody might not remember that they've even wanted to read. So putting all of those titles alongside one another really allows patrons to see uh, everything that's available from the library. Um, you can further increase discovery by integrating a novelist subscription if you have one, and that provides users with reading recommendations. Again, inherent to the app is the ability to showcase titles by the same author. So if you go into the item record, it will show other items that you've purchased by that author, as well as items in a series if the metadata is there to associate them as a series. Talking briefly about accessibility of ease of use, we are deliberately a streamlined app that has been designed for users of all ages. We say that this is a great app for older populations that are just looking to get into ebooks or audiobooks, to give it a test, to give it a try. It's really a great opportunity. There's a low barrier to access. We do have a product designer that is working as we speak on user experience and design improvements. We're just waiting to get some of those implemented. And built into the app, there is language localization. So for patrons that are non-native English speakers, if they have their device set to Spanish, the written text within the app and the base app will also translate. Uh, we are also compatible with voiceover and talkback technologies. Our app is built on Redium, which does support both of those. And as I said, this is a great app for first-time app users. Regardless of how digitally savvy they are, it is an easy thing to pick up and learn. It's also relatively easy to train people how to use. Uh, Along with that ease of use, there is a really important point here. The Palace app integrates with your library patrons' ILS for authentication, which means that most of our patrons will only ever provide us with their library barcode and PIN number, which is great for privacy reasons. And we have some really great resources on our website that show how to download and get ready with the app in 5 steps. So it's 5 steps to get started. Most patrons will only ever provide us with their barcode to log in. If you have PIN set up, they'll need their PIN. All of their usage data, their circulation data is anonymized to protect patron privacy. And it is an easy, easy way to get started with an e-reader app. Shifting gears a little bit to talk about how libraries promote Palace, I always think it's really interesting to kind of look at what other libraries are doing and how they talk about this. So some choose to highlight the collections that they've developed, either using their own funds or accessing their statewide shared collections. In California, there are some matching grants that have been made available over several years. Huntington Beach Public Library is one of our really great partners. They've done a lot. I think they're on their third matching grant at this point. But this first graphic shows their promotion of their beach-themed collection. It's a beachside community. They chose to focus on maritime themes as well as marine biology. This is all about paddleboarding and surfing, as well as some things about the marine wildlife. Um, some libraries tend to focus on the fact that we are an aggregator, so highlighting on the idea of Libby plus more. uh, putting things in terms that patrons will understand and really keying in on those talking points that we discussed. Another thing that we found that libraries do is they like to tie into whatever initiatives that they have going on at the time. This last graphic shows, I think that it was something that came out over the summer, but that kind of maritime, again, boatloads of ebooks and audiobooks theme. So highlighting both the aggregation, the more content, as well as the summer reading initiatives. Building beyond that, we focus on the talking points, as well as we have a library that just started in Georgia, Middle Georgia Regional Library. They've chosen to do some training sessions, one-on-one with patrons, to get people accustomed to utilizing the app. So this is a regional system that has, oh goodness, I think it's 3 different counties, but there are many, many branches within those. And they've chosen to offer these trainings with each of their systems, which is really awesome. Beyond that, one of the things that we mention is that we do have these getting started guides that are available to you. This is one library that's based in California that chose to utilize some of the resources that we have in both English and Spanish. And the idea here is that multilingual materials provide a broader reach and support more of your library's community. And I anticipate in certain areas in South Florida that there are a lot of Spanish speaking populations. So we do have some getting started guides on our website that are available in both English and Spanish, as well as some training videos that you can use as well. Kind of transitioning again, I thought it would be helpful for you to see a little bit of how libraries are using Palace to kind of creatively increase discovery, highlight collections, and highlight community initiatives as well. Starting out with some of the Florida libraries that are part of SEFLIN and how they're currently using Palace to engage with their community. Broward has a system-wide book sanctuary initiative they launched in 2023. And in order to kind of expand this in the digital realm beyond the physical book sanctuaries in place, they've made that content available in a dedicated swim lane in Palace that includes frequently challenged or banned books. Stonewall National Museum and Archives is another SEFLIN library. And they've chosen to use custom lanes or create custom lanes in the app that focus on those banned books as well as LGBTQ fiction and nonfiction. I know that the Collection Development Library with Stonewall has spent a lot of time going through the shared collection as well as some additional content that they've purchased to really highlight resources that would be beneficial for their community. Transitioning a little bit to California, I did mention that there is a large statewide shared collection that currently has over 100,000 titles and growing. They are on their 3rd matching grant cycle, and I believe they just announced the 4th for next year. And this allows libraries to kind of participate in the overall collection development. I believe there is a small match that's involved. So the state library is putting forth a lot of federal funds into this to allow individual libraries in the state to take an active role in growing the collection. Each submits a project plan. Some of them are themed, as I mentioned, Huntington Beach has done the beachwide themes. Some are focusing on multilingual materials. Others are focusing on individual community initiatives. But really the idea is to expand that idea of shared ownership of the collection to ensure that everyone in the state of California is being reached. And additionally, we have an annual summit with California libraries and California State Library and their libraries to discuss Palace, what's new with Palace, exchange ideas, to talk about how individual libraries or the grant libraries are participating with their projects and how they're promoting to their communities. Beyond that, there have been some statewide reading initiatives with collections that have been shared in custom swim lanes in the app. A couple of years ago, there were some additional funds to create an El Dia de los Niños collection. Beyond that, there were the California State Library summer reading programs, and those lanes are shared in every instance. So one of the cool things about Palace is that you can create a list of titles that can be shared with every library in your community. So for SEFLIN, it would be every library that's in the Florida Collection Manager. You would share that out and be able to enable that lane in your library. Talking about Huntington Beach again, they are a three-time recipient of this eBooks for All Magic Grant. I mentioned their beach life and maritime themes from 2023. Last year, they did the More Nice, Not a Lot of Spice collection, which ranged in everything from cozy mysteries to quaint romance, as well as some holiday themes. This year, they're doing Out of Sight but Never Out of Mind, which is cultural heritage ebooks for Huntington Beach. So a little bit more culture based, community based. And the really interesting thing about this group is that it's an aging population and many are new to e-reading and devices. And since they've implemented this collection as well as Palace and their community, they've seen a lot of interest and seen significant circulation annually. So this is just to say that even with aging populations, with the right tools, you can introduce people to a different way of accessing reading. Um, Palace, as I said, is kind of a low barrier to access. So we're just so happy that we've been able to help this library engage with their patrons in a new way and open up this collection over 100,000 titles to their community. Another library that just recently launched is Vancouver Public Library in Canada, British Columbia. They've chosen to focus their collection primarily on audiobooks. They're promoting exclusive content from Audible Studios, as well as their always available audio content from Blackstone Unlimited, which is a collection of about 6,000 simultaneous use audiobooks. They've curated some lanes in the app to highlight those fiction as well as nonfiction staff picks, in addition to the always available audiobooks. And they've had some really great and fun social campaigns surrounding this. And as of this week, I can also mention that Edmonton Public Library, which is in Alberta, Canada, has also launched and has kind of followed a similar approach, really focusing on the Audible content that they've purchased for their community. And for Canada, it's a big deal because for many, this is their only way of accessing that Audible content. So we're just excited to see where that relationship goes and how Canadian libraries are ready to embrace Palace. Palace in Action in Connecticut. Similar to California, there are a lot of reading initiatives, including the All CT Reads program, which is a year-long, I guess, shortlisted fiction for children, YA, and adults. Usually there's I would say a winner for each category, as well as 2 or 3 shortlist picks. The state library has chosen to supplement the physical collection and highlight those titles as part of their Ego collection, which is the audiobooks and ebooks available in the state. They've also chosen to highlight the Summer Reading Challenge. So the Governor Summer Reading Challenge happens every year. They also have content from local awards. So the Nutmeg Awards, which is a children's literature award that happens each year. They focus on Connecticut history as well as exploring America, which is primarily DEIA nonfiction that is in collaboration with an IMLS grant that the state had written. So they do have these toolkits for physical reading groups, but they can also access that content via the Palace app. For patrons that don't live in a community that has Palace at their library, the state has chosen to set up a Connecticut State Library instance with a virtual library card, meaning that anyone in the state can sign up and still access the Ego collection, regardless of whether or not their library is involved with the Palace Project. All of these lists that we've kind of discussed have been made shareable in the app, meaning that any library that chooses to implement them can log into Palace and create a lane with that content. Palace in Action in Vermont. We have two kind of statewide initiatives here, in addition to supporting the implementation of every individual public library in the state. Vermont State Library has two instances, again, with that virtual library card. The first is the Vermont State Library instance, which is geared towards state employees. So it's set up that they can access this utilizing a work email. All of this is focused on Vermont materials as well as fiction and nonfiction and professional development. Book Vermont is a new initiative that's targeting travelers as well as seasonal residents. This is including the statewide shared collection and focused on the Vermontiana and award winners that are in that area. So this Green Mountain Book Award, as well as the Golden Dome Book Award. The cool thing about this initiative is that we co-designed decals for them that they've given out to libraries that are been interested. Librarians have been placing these decals in the community so that people can find the collection where they are. So for a state like Vermont that has a lot of tourism, some of the librarians have placed these in parks. So if there's campers, they can access the collection. There's been discussion of placing them at ski resorts or lodges or other community areas in which a lot of traffic comes through. This is also another way for patrons in non-participating areas to access the collection. So we're really excited about Book Vermont and to see how it grows throughout this winter as we transition from leaf peeping season into ski season. This is also to say that the opportunities really are endless for you. There are ways to promote contents affiliated with library programming, community-led initiatives, local authors and lecture series, speaker events, local and statewide celebrations, trending topics, and more. It really is up to you. And if you missed our session on how to customize Palace and how to create these lists and lanes, I'm more than happy to share the recording as well as some training videos on how to do those. It's very easy to learn. We do have a training video that takes about 5 minutes of your time to learn how to create your own custom list and lane to really customize Palace and your Palace app instance to highlight your community needs. And this is all to say with any new technology, there is a learning curve. Just because you're live in the app doesn't mean that we go away. We have plenty of resources available to you on our website, and Tara and I are also available for conversations. But some of those self-serve resources include a library resources webpage with digital assets and logos. I mentioned those training videos in Spanish, but we also have them in English. We do have patron-facing videos in English and Spanish on how to use the app for iOS and Android. We also have bilingual training videos on the Palace Collection Manager, as well as the Palace Marketplace for staff. We do have some print materials and collateral, including those getting started guides that can be printed out. I believe there is a version that is two-sided. The first side is in English and in Spanish. You're more than welcome to take those and print out and put in the library. There are plenty of external links with recorded trainings as well as our YouTube page. We have plenty of instructional materials that we update regularly. And one of the new exciting things is we have just launched a feedback fork for staff. And this really gives you the opportunity to really lean on us as a community-driven platform. This allows you to provide feedback and suggest new features that will go on our Palace roadmap. By creating an account, you are able to upload frequently requested features as well as include your own updates that you'd like us to see. I would say quarterly, Tara and I will go to our engineering development priorities meeting with a list of topics or with ideas that people have frequently upvoted. So the items that have the most interest, if they're not prioritized yet or not on the prioritization list, we advocate for them to be added. And while this doesn't necessarily mean that they'll be developed right away, it at least ensures that our team is aware of what the needs of our community are and to make sure that we are able to be in alignment with what libraries are asking us for. This does get us moving in the right direction and gives us a better sense of what your needs are and how we can best meet them. So, we've talked about a lot of different things here, some of those talking points, how libraries are promoting Palace to their community. And at the end of the day, what do you tell your patrons? We understand that talking to your patrons about a new app can be daunting. So here are a few quick ways to easily convey what Palace is all about. The first is to simplify your browsing experience and reading experience with the Palace app. The second is that you can sometimes find exclusive content in the Palace app with fewer holds. So if you have some content in the SEFLIN collection that is Amazon or Audible, which I believe you do, that content is only available in Palace. If you're utilizing the Palace Marketplace to supplement your own collections in Overdrive or Cloud Library, sometimes those additional copies will be available to borrow sooner in the Palace app. Um, really highlighting that always available idea because we're highlighting backlisted content and really focusing on availability. There's always going to be something for you to read in Palace. We're not going to point patrons to something that isn't going to be available to them for months at a time. In that catalog, they're going to see something that they can read immediately. Beyond that, you could explore new to you titles with the Palace app, which again really focuses on that backlist. You do have an extensive size collection that's available in Palace. Patrons should be able to see everything that the library has put forth for them. Palace is easy to use as well as accessible. We are designed for that discovery, designed for people of all ages and experiences. You can easily adjust your reading experience in Palace to meet your needs. We're assistive technology compatible, and we are designed with new app users in mind. Um, just a couple quick notes. We do have some resources available to you, including that link to the feedback board, our library resources page, and more. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand and unmute or drop them in the chat. I know it's lunchtime for many of you, and I know everyone is very busy. So, what I'm going to do, oh, Tara beat me to it. If you have any questions or concerns or want to talk about Palace or set up a meeting, reach out to us at support at thepalaceproject.org. You'll probably hear back from one of us since that email goes directly to both of us, as well as a couple of our colleagues. We're always happy to kind of talk through the unique situations or give you ideas of how we can better promote in your community, help you promote, and answer any technical questions you have. This is also where you'll go if you run into any technical issues with the app. We do offer some tier 1 support. If you have unique patron issues or patron is having an issue with the Palace Project app, contact us there and we can help you troubleshoot. And with that, I'd like to say thank you again for joining us today. As always, thank you for being valid Palace partners. We really appreciate the support from several libraries. And if you ever need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out.